just want to see if it works.
You just want to know if you like it or you don't like it, in terms of what it does for you, like views from above or whatever. Oh, okay, all right. That was pretty funny. Because we're up there going, here, you see our proposal here? You see what we wrote? Here's the statement of work. Nowhere in here does it say you're going to drop it 20 feet from the
That's how you test the quality of products, just the road in the back of a truck.
We even wrote in there that, as a follow-on, we can make it more robust and harden it. All well openly discussed, but whatever. That was when I learned that it's more important to manage the expectations of whoever you're working with. You want to set your expectations really low, so when you deliver something, you're like, that's great. Or you charge them $50 million.
See, this is the reason why I got out of doing website design. Because you'd get these people that have no clue.
Yes.
They could barely turn the computer on or off.
And they won't match.
Well, and they tell you what they want, and then you tell them, okay, that doesn't exist. You're living in a fantasy.
Yeah.
And so you talk with them that first time, and you get to a point where they're like, okay, yeah, build it. And then you build it. And then when you show it to them, it's never going to be what they want because they still have those unreal expectations in their head. And I'm just like, nope, not dealing. I refuse.
This is my company to walk away from a client one time for that reason.
Never going to be what they want. Yeah, I it took me like 2 or 3 websites, and I was like, that's it, I'm done, I quit.
Yeah. The one that I was real happy to walk away from, DARPA wanted a flying car. And we're like, yeah, we can make a flying car.
I've heard about DARPA wanting the flying car.
Yeah, we got all involved and we wrote up a proposal and everything, and we had a rich guy who was gonna be the lead, because we could provide pieces. We don't, we make the computer that controls it, and the aerodynamics and all that jazz. We can make sure that the thing is safe and flies and all that, but there are a whole lot of you didn't want to pay us for the other stuff.
Say what your nachos today.
So they had we had a front guy that managed the whole thing, and he was
I'm
psyched.
feeling good.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a couple of clients that were like that throughout the years. And it's their own fault for not getting what they want because they have no clue. They have no basis. And some of them, they just thought that Flash, Adobe Flash, was like a magic wand and it could do anything. And you tell them, well, Adobe Flash doesn't do such and such. Yeah, it does. I swear to God, I've seen it. Okay, well, give me the URL and let me see what you're talking about. Oh, I can't remember. I can't even find it in my bookmarks now. Yeah, that's because you didn't see it. You're lying. Yeah, I mean, my dad paid a ton of money for me to go to school and get my degrees, and I'm like, I tried to make it work, and I'm so glad to be out of the computer industry. Just don't miss it in any way, shape, or form.
It's gone to the lowest common denominator stuff, and it's just loaded with disappointment.
Yeah.
And the failure rate is insane.
Well, and honestly, when it really started to dawn on me that the computer industry was crap when, you had these students coming out, and at the time when Oracle was new, you had these students coming out that learned Oracle, and Oracle programmers were initially, because there's not that many people around. The Oracle programmers are worth starting like $25 an hour. That's basement level. Well, all the industry got together and all these companies said, well, you know what? We're not going to pay them more than $12.50. And what are they going to do? Because that's what they went to school for, right? And so there are all these Oracle programmers that came out of school expecting, you know, because I know Oracle, I'm going to be making $25 an hour, and now they're making barely minimum wage. And you know, and the all the corporations are like, oh, you don't want to work for us for $12.50 an hour? F you. I mean, what are you going to do? You know, get another student loan, go back to school? I mean,
we struggled with that mightily because we wrote very high quality software. Depending on the client, we could write software that can control airplanes. And there's not a higher level of software.
right.
And then, because people die and stuff.
Right, if that stuff doesn't work, then yeah.
And then, you know, and the deal with that was, okay, it'll cost us $50,000 to write the programming and $500,000 to do the paperwork to prove that this is completely bulletproof and to test 98 million edge conditions.
Right.
So, you know, okay, we need, you know, 10 times the money to do this job. And then someone else would come over and go, I don't need to do that. Okay, fine, we'll just cut out all the paperwork. But it was a struggle because the programmers you gotta keep those guys trained all the time.
Right.
All the
Yeah,
time. All the time.
anytime there's any update that comes out to the compiler, they need to go back and take classes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not something where you want them to have to figure it out on their own. Along those same lines, it was cracking me up that the last Boeing that ended up getting
Yeah. The Dreamliner?
the Dreamliner that several of them crashed.
Yep. That's because
And-
they split the jobs out to 8. Yeah.
Well, the thing about it that really irritates me, so the problem with that was their autopilot sensor not detecting whether the plane was in a dive or not. And Boeing is making it sound like this is a new issue we weren't aware of with the Dreamliner, and I'm like, no, that's bullshit. You knew about this problem because you had another plane made by Boeing in 1979 that crashed in Britain that did the same exact thing. I mean, a carbon copy. I looked at it, I'm like, I've heard this before. And that was the same thing where it didn't detect that it was in a dive, and the warning that was going off to the pilot was to decrease speed.
Well, that is a perfectly valid warning. You know, if you can,
Right.
If you can just touch.
But the reason why the warning was going off in 79 was to decrease speed due to fuel expenditure. Well, the plane wasn't going faster because the engines were running hotter. It was going faster because it was falling towards the ground. And by the time he figured it out was when he saw the tops of power lines and he gassed the engine and pulled back, and all it did was the tail slapped the ground and the whole plane exploded. And it's like this issue that is modern for the Dreamliner has happened before. So how can you say that this was some new bug that you guys are just working out of a new system? You've known about this error. You could have fixed this.
They can say it because they're lawyers and telling you.
Right. Yeah, let's just ignore that one time in Britain.
Oh, before we start, did you get a chance to watch the movie?
I have not yet. It's sitting there waiting for me to plug it in and pop it in and turn on the DVD player, and I haven't. I'm gonna try and get to it this week, and I'll have it for you by next week.
No, I'm not even needing it. I just wanted to giggle.
Yeah, I've read the box. It looks proper ridiculous. So, welcome to Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Where we left off. You guys.
Total cliffhanger.
Yeah, a little cliffhanger. You guys have just fought a whole bunch of Sahuagin, and in the temple, and you were abandoned by Jarl Axel, who took off in the Marpanoth. And the last thing that was seen was that Telfar was using her wings.
Mm-hmm. Wings of flying.
Yeah, and she was way up, and in the darkness saw at the very edge of her vision, in the darkness, she saw a giant mermaid hanging in the black of this cavern. And she heard in her mind a call from the baby Kraken to please remember to bring me some toys. Loots.
No, we've been getting coins for a while.
So at the end of
I'm gonna
everybody
do our
make
compilation